Hello everybody, this is Lauren Harpster from Bead and Blossom, and today I'm doing this unboxing review of the Hobbyworker electric bead spinner. Now, the original Doris electric bead spinner was battery operated. That was the first bead spinner I ever had, and it was discontinued a few years ago. And since then I've been looking for an alternative that worked really well so that I could recommend it to you guys. I don't personally use electric bead spinners very often. To me, they're just too loud, and I have a little bit less control over it. But I know that a lot of people like these electric bead spinners because they're a little bit easier than manually spinning it. So let's open this up and let's give it a try. Alright, now I'm noticing from the pictures that the bowls do look a lot like the bowls that were on the Doris bead spinner. There's supposed to be 3 bowls, I think. Alright, so here's the main portion. Ooh, the main portion of the bead spinner. One of the bowls, and there's a little USB plug. There's a lid that goes over the top of the spinner, which looks nice. What is that? I think that's tape. I hope that's tape. So we got some beads in here, some needles, thread, and then got 2 other bowls. Okay, I think I got everything. Alright. There's some more. Ooh, a surprise. That's nice of them. Okay. Now, so we got 3 bowls of the bead spinners. Now, 2 of them have these little fitted lids. I'm assuming that's so you can store them, and then the one that you're using goes on there, but then there's also this other lid that can go on top of your spinner. Okay, so I like the 3 bowls because you can interchange pretty easily when you're working with multiple colors of beads instead of having to use multiple bead spinners. So I like that already. I like the size and shape of this bead spinner. I don't like bead spinners that are really tall because then I have a hard time getting my wire down to the bottom to get the beads. So having a shallow bowl like this is a benefit. And also it's not a huge bead spinner. I mean, it's not small, but it's pretty standard size, so it's not oversized. All right, now I've got this little cord here, and it's a nice length. Now, there's no instructions, so I'm hoping that this is just plug and go. Alright. I'm gonna plug this in. Alright, I've got it plugged in and I'm ready to give it a try. Now, if you are stringing onto thread, this does come with some needles. They have 2 different sizes of needles here. They've got this really extra long one that's a little hook shape. I've never seen one this size before, so I don't know if whether that's going to be a benefit or not, but it is interesting to see one this long. And then there's this shorter one that kind of separates to put your thread through. So both of those can be used to help string if you're stringing onto thread. Now, I always string onto wire. I make my beaded flowers out of wire, so I'm going to be stringing directly onto the wire and just skip the needle part. It does come with some beads, but there's not very many in here, and bead spinners work best when they're at least halfway full. They work most efficiently, I should say. You can string it when they're a little bit lower, but it just goes really slow. And this doesn't look like it's going to be enough to fill up to that point, so I'm going to use some beads that I had sitting on my desk. Alright, we're just going to put the bead spinners in the beads in there, in the bowl. Give it a nice little shake to level it out. And let's see. Now there is a control here, where I can make it spin left, or I can make it spin right. And there's also a control that lets me control the speed. So let's see how this goes. Alright, got my little hook shape made at the top of my wire. Level that back out, and let's go. Let's see. Alright, so this is the highest speed that it will go. I'm noticing the sound, especially the noise. It's a little bit noisy. You slow it down. Let's see how slow it goes. Ooh, that's not even moving. That's pretty slow. Okay, let's go. About right here is where it starts moving. It looks like it's struggling a little bit, so it's... Okay, let's see how it strings on the slow settings. Remold my hook there. That wasn't a very good one. Oh, other way. So it's stringing pretty slow. Let's see if I can turn it up. That's going pretty good there. I'm past medium at this point. It didn't start spinning at all until I was almost all the way up to medium. Okay, so let's see what happens when I go all the way up. Oh, there's beads flying everywhere. Ah! Okay, so that's not a very useful setting. But I do like that I have a little bit of control over it. But I like this right between medium and high, and max is the one that I liked. That's the speed I liked right there. Right about there. So anyways, decent controls there. It did not move at all until I got up to about this point. I don't know if I can, I don't want to tip my beads out. Oh, I can just go like this. Okay, so it did not spin at all until, see, I've got it on, it started spinning about right there. And it was really slow and barely picked up any beads and was kind of struggling. My favorite speed was about right there. No, a little bit more. But it does go all the way up to max. That was the crazy one. So about right there was pretty good for me, but you can adjust that. You can adjust it if you prefer for it to go a little bit more slowly, you can. Now let's test the other direction here. Now I'm right-handed. I like to string up here, but you can string the other way. Works just fine. So I can go this direction, or I can have my wire down here. And it would all string. Or if I were left-handed, I'm not, so it's probably gonna not go very well. If I were left-handed, I could, yeah, look at me, string with my left hand. Whoa. All right, so. Alright, so I think that's a pretty good test run there. I am noticing, of course, the noise. The box says low noise, and I don't believe them anymore. That's not very low noise. Maybe they have lower standards on what low noise is than I do. But for me, that would be a problem because I'm very sensitive to noise, especially ones that are constant and mechanical and never end. But I definitely would not be able to use this while I was watching TV. That's where I usually do my beadwork, is while I'm watching, well, I don't watch it because I'm watching my beadwork, but I listen to the show. So I wouldn't be able to do that with my TV there. Now, I was a little bit disappointed in the speed here, but I think that, you know, that's a minor issue. There's one thing I want to test here. There's this little thing in the lid that... Okay, so I think I can dump my beads out with that hole. I don't know. I'm gonna try, and we're gonna see. I don't think this is gonna go very well. It's better than I thought it was gonna be. So it does work, but this lid only goes on the, oops, nope, there's beads down the bottom. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna pour them the old-fashioned way here. Now let me share my final thoughts on this Hobbyworker electric bead spinner. Now, I mentioned it before that I have tried several other different electric bead spinners in the last few months, and I will say that this one is my favorite out of the ones that I've tried so far, so it does get a recommendation from me. Now, I like, it feels nice quality, it is plastic. some of the other electric ones I found were made out of wood, and I thought that that would be really neat, but they didn't actually work very well, or they had other problems. So while this one is plastic, it does feel nicer than the other wood ones that I had. I like that there are 3 bowls. I can interchange my colors with the other electric bead spinners that I have. The bowls were either very difficult to pull off, or they're permanently mounted to the base, and so you can't take it off or switch the colors. So that to me is a huge benefit, so that I can easily work with multiple colors without needing an extra bead spinner. I like the general size and shape of this bead spinner bowl. It's not too deep, it's not too big. This is pretty much the same size as a standard size bead spinner. Let me grab one of those. Okay, I found one. All right, so it's a little bit smaller than the standard bead spinner bowl, but it is fairly close to the same size there. Now, I mentioned, I think before, that bead spinners work best when they are at least halfway full. 1/2 to 2/3 full is kind of the optimum range, as that's when it's going to spin the easiest and the fastest. Once you get down below that halfway point, they generally string a little bit slower, or that requires a little bit more effort to get them to go on. And if you go above 2/3, then you just get beads that fly everywhere. So, good size and shape of the bowl. I can switch it out, and I like that I can change left or right so that you can customize it to whatever works best for you and your stringing technique. I like that I can change the speeds. Now the only downside, well, not the only downside, one of the downsides to me is that because it is electric, obviously that means it needs a power source, and this one is with a cord. The Derice one that I had before was battery operated. That meant it ate batteries, unless you got those rechargeable ones, but still it eats batteries. But that did mean that I could transport it a little bit easier, and I could take it wherever I needed to. This cord means that I either need to sit near an outlet, and of course it doesn't come with an adapter. You have to get your own adapter if you want to do with the outlet option. But I could do that, or I will need, in addition to the bead spinner, one of those portable battery packs with the USB plug to be able to plug it in, and then you can take it wherever you want to, but you've still got this cord on your workspace. Now the other issue that I have with it is the sound, the noise of it, and that's probably just a me thing. I'm really sensitive to noises, especially really repetitive, constant noises. They give me a really bad headache. So for me, I probably would not be able to use this very often. To me, that's a downside, and that's pretty much the only reason why I don't use electric bead spinners is because of the noise. But I think for those of you that don't mind the noise, or that just really need to have an electric bead spinner, either to free up your hand or because you have a really difficult time doing this spinning motion, I think that this is a really, really great option for you guys. And I will put a link in the description below where you guys can purchase one. Okay, so I decided that this video wouldn't be complete unless I showed you guys some of the other electric bead spinners that I've purchased recently and talk about the things that I do and don't like about them. Alright, so I'm going to start with the first one that I ordered. At the time that I ordered it, it was the only one that I saw available online. That was this one. It's got this little tri-folding base, and it has, of course, the cord, and it does have a speed control and a left and right. And when I got it, I did recommend it because at the time, it was the only electric bead spinner that I could find. Now, this one is a decent bead spinner. The only thing that I think could be improved about this one is the shape of the bowl. It's a little bit deep. Now, I mentioned before, bead spinners work best when they're about halfway full, but because this one's so deep, let me see if I can demo this with the little... Alright, normally when I string my beads, I like to keep my wire kind of horizontal with the beads. Now you can change the shape of your little wire to hook it down and everything, but to me that makes it harder if you've got a deeper bowl to get down to the bottom where all the beads are, or you have to keep it fuller in order to get those beads a little bit easier near the top. So that's the only thing that I did not really like about this one was just the depth of the bowl, but otherwise it's a pretty decent bead spinner. It spins left and right. You can control the speed. It's got that same control on it I have several other ones here that I'm going to show you have the exact same little control on it. But so this one's decent. It has a tri-folding base if you like that. And then after this one, I was looking around online and I noticed this wooden electric bead spinner, and I saw it and I was like, ooh, it's made out of wood. That looks fancy. I should try that. Maybe that would be a good option. So I bought it, and this one I got a demo because this one had some issues. Okay, got it plugged in now. No, I was pretty excited about this one. It has a lid on it. Now it's not a fitted lid, so it does just come right back off, but it does help you to pour out your beads. Now, there's several issues with this one. The first one is possibly just a manufacturing defect, in that mine is so badly off-center. I don't know if you're going to tell a great deal in the video, but it's so badly off-center that where the sides are is constantly changing. So I'm going to run into it a lot with my wire. But it does go left and right. It's just very badly off-center. And I can change the speed to go as fast as slow as I like. The other problem with these kinds of bowls is that the bowl is not removable. You can't take it off. And that is, it's only really a problem if you're working with multiple colors of beads, because then you do actually need multiple bead spinners. And that means multiple cords on your workstation, multiple plugs that you got to deal with. So if you're going to work with multiple bead spinners, I would definitely make sure that you get one where the bowl is detachable, with these electric ones especially. But there were some other problems here that made me feel like it wasn't the highest quality. Now, the bottom is actually just covered by this foam. I don't think that there's anything under the foam between the motor inside and this foam. So sometimes the little motor actually pushes down. I don't know if you're going to be able to see that. You see that little bump right there on the bottom? Just barely there. It's enough to cause the bead spinner to wobble a little extra. But if I push it up, the motor pops out of the inside of my little bowl there. You see that? It pops right back out. So that, to me, maybe if I returned this one and said it was defective and got a replacement, maybe it wouldn't be off-centered, and then it wouldn't be so bad, I don't think. But this here kind of bothers me a little bit. It feels a little bit lower quality just because that there's not an actual base on the spinner. Then I noticed later that there was another wooden electric bead spinner model, and this one has some issues. So I got this one as well. It has a taller base. Again, the bead spinner is not removable from the motor. However, it has like a wooden base on it, so it feels more quality in that regard. The problem with mine is that it feels like the motor came loose. There's actually something loose wiggling around in there, but I can't open it up to try and fix it. Now, maybe I could return it and get a new one, but this one has another problem that I think makes it not quite as ideal as other models. This one has a different, oh, this cord's not long enough to reach. Eek. I'm out to be able to show you. Oh, just way down here. Okay. It only has a single button. Just goes off and on. There's no left and right. There is no speed control. Now, the speed and the direction that it's going would actually work for me. But do you hear that noise? Now, that might just be because my motor seems like it's loose and it might be grinding against something. It could be because it has a wooden base and it's vibrating against my table. Maybe if I put a little rubber bumper on there, that noise would go away. But still, the lack of having a speed and direction control to me makes this one a little bit less ideal. And then also, of course, you can't, again, remove the bowl. So if you need multiple bead spinners, you've got multiple cords, multiple plugs going on. This one was the one I bought right before the Hobbyworker. This one came actually with two bowls, a little itty bitty teeny tiny one, and then this bigger one. Now these bowls are removable, so I could interchange these if I wanted to. However, they are very difficult to get off. So it's, You definitely don't want to try and do it while there's beads still in the bowl. Maybe over time it would wear down a little bit and make it easier to get it off, but I think that would also wear out the hole, so maybe it wouldn't spin as well, because it is kind of it's got a flat side, so maybe it wouldn't fit in there anymore. I don't know. That's one of the concerns that I have with the plastic ones, is just the longevity of it, just from wearing down the holes or whatever. But it does have that that same left and right and then speed control as the first wooden one and the first plastic one I showed you guys. So that does work. Left, right, speed control there is great. Again though, these bowls are really deep. I think the design would be improved a little bit if they were just a little bit more shallow, so that it's not quite as difficult to get into the bottom of the spinner to get the beads. Now, maybe it's not a problem for those who are using needles, because they're a little bit stiffer than the wires that I used to put in there. But it would be at least uncomfortable, or not as comfortable as a regular bead spinner, just because of the depth. But it does work, and it does, you know, I like that there's two different sizes of bowls. You gotta line it up properly. There's that same little flat side. Alright, just like that. So there are two different sizes of bowls, which I like with this one. I think I would probably use the smaller one more than the larger one, just because it works better with smaller amounts of beads, but you can just refill it when you run out of beads. This one, because it's larger, is going to require more beads in order to operate efficiently. Now, there's one more thing I noticed about these ones, is that these bowls actually come apart. There's a seam there. I think it's just because these are kind of more of they look more like an injection mold plastic, while this one looks 3D printed to me. So I think they were made a little bit differently, and maybe that's why this one had to be made in two pieces and then fit together. But I noticed that it came apart because, well, I was trying to take it off the thing and it was kind of really stuck on there and ended up popping in half. I thought I broke it at first, but it actually does come apart. I haven't tested it with the top part off to see if it would spin without the top part, but I'm wondering if it might. The only thing that would cause problems is that there isn't really a lip, and that lip is what makes it so the beads don't fly quite as much. I do have other spinners that I like quite a lot. These are some ceramic spinners that I bought, handmade off of Etsy, and they don't have a lip either, and they're very shallow. They are a little bit harder to work with, so if you've got a really good spinner technique, these ones would work well. So I'm wondering if maybe I could make it work with just the shallow portion of the bowl. But I think that is going to be harder for most people using bead spinners, just because that you are going to get more flyaway beads if you go, especially if you go too fast. Anyways, this one is also a decent bead spinner. Again, I do prefer the Hobbyworker after working with that one. But again, don't take the bowl off while you still got beads in it, because it's difficult to do. And the little one does seem to come apart too. I haven't been able to pop that one off just yet, but it does seem like, oh, I got it. It does come apart, so I kind of want to test it. Maybe I should do that on camera here. Let me test it and see how it goes with the shallow version. Let me see if I can do it. Okay, let's put some beads in here. I don't know if this is gonna go well, guys. Okay. Oh, shook it too hard. All right. So I'm going to turn it down low at first, just so I don't get everything flying. Oh! Ooh, that didn't go well. That was on the, I thought that was a low speed. Oh. Okay, let me see if I can get it to work with just a little tiny one. It does, but I'm having to be really, really careful with it, and I am getting flyaway beads still, and this is the lowest speed. So if I go any higher, those are going to fly everywhere. So maybe I don't recommend using just the lower half. Maybe the larger one would work though. Oh, I've got beads in there, dang it. I'm not sure if they intended for this to come apart. Oops. Oh! I just told myself not to take it off with the beads in there, and I did it anyways. Oops. Okay, I kind of want to try the big one, just the lower half. Made a mess. Alright, let's try this bigger one, just the lower half. It might work a little bit better than the smaller one did. Okay, let's go for it. I mean, it's technically working, but there are beads flying everywhere, so meh. Not that you can tell, because my desk is already a mess here. There were beads flying out there. So, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't recommend that with just the half one. I was hoping that would work. Oh, this is going to make a mess either way. Okay, I'll clean that up in just a minute. Alright, so that is my review on some electric bead spinners that I found recently. And out of the ones that I purchased, I do recommend this Hobbyworker the most for those of you who want or need to work with an electric bead spinner. And again, I will put a link in the description below of where you guys can purchase one. Alright, happy beading! See you guys next time!